You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry wants his old life back. There you are, poodling along as the Ginger Prince, as one does. And life's pretty sweet. Chasing a bit of skirt, popping off to Bonkers nightclub, maybe having a kebab at Abracadabra thereafter. People largely liking you, playing a bit of polo, doing a bit in the army, turning up at places, being told what to wear, shake the hand, ask some questions, show an interest, be interested, do some charity stuff. Not bad, this spare lark. Oh, hello. Who's this then? Some quite pushy but engaging American. She looks rather interested in me. Oh, goodness me, that's quite the greeting. Gripping the old pink pods there, mind you. What a grip indeed. And before he knows it, old Fantapubes finds himself ensnared as the spider entered his life. Completely witless as to what she is, completely devoid of any understanding of what was going on, he found himself with an individual that, through her instinct, recognised that she'd hit the jackpot and went hell for leather to ensure that he was totally fascinated by her, that he became entranced, and thus he became ensnared. As is always the case, as I've told you many times, when you are the intimate partner primary source of a narcissist, the husband, the wife, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the partner, the cohab, your dynamic is this. You'll be seduced and everything's wonderful. It's rainbow, glitter, unicorns. Then there might be a stranger zone, following your being seduced and embedded. Some people don't get the stranger zone. It's part of the devaluation that takes place. You then always get the sustained devaluation whereby you experience devaluing behaviors. And for Harry, ensnared by a mid-range narcissist, this incorporates lots of silent treatments, glares, insults, belittlement, invalidation, triangulation with other people so that he's compared unfavorably, isolation from the things that matter to him. Potentially physical violence, insult, shouting matches, argumentativeness, bringing up the past, circular arguments, and more besides. One of those key manipulations that used against him was isolation. This is done to prevent external influences keeping him from being totally under control of his handler. And as part of that happening, this means that the life that he once loved, he loses. He willingly went to Canada and California, but he went basically being missold the experience. He thought, I found the love of my life. She's really into me. She really supports me. I want to spend the rest of my life with this lady. She's also recognised that I haven't really been supported as I ought to have been, and in fact I hadn't picked up on this. She tells me that I was trapped, and I hadn't worked that out for myself, and now, although I don't realise I'm being brainwashed, I actually realise that she was right. I was trapped, but now it's my brother and my father, the ones that are left trapped and not me. Ha ha ha! I'm away across the ocean, and she's told me that when we eventually reach the land of the free, everybody will want to know us. They'll be very interested in our experience with the royal family. We'll easily be able to get jobs. Apparently, through her agents, she's been telling me that there's loads of people that are waiting to employ me in all manner of different roles. So despite the fact that I'm thick as mince, that's really exciting and something I'm going to get into. We'll be able to go for walks on the beach. The weather will always be good. It won't be cold and rainy like it often is in Blighty. Okay, I might not be able to get a pint like I used to, but apparently there are some English boozers. But I'm sure that we'll be backwards and forwards across the ocean, catching up with friends, seeing family, and they'll be coming to visit us regularly. It sounds idyllic. Where do I sign up? And thus, with the promise of a wonderful life with her, and the promise of a wonderful life in the Californian sunshine, Harry was dragged away from all that he knew and loved, and thus was isolated, making him easier to control. But reports are now suggesting that Prince Harry is keen to come back to the United Kingdom, while Harry's wife would prefer to stay in the United States. This has been reported in a number of newspapers, but I provide you with what has been detailed in a Daily Record, which states Prince Harry is keen to move back to London to get his old life back, which has left Harry's wife frustrated. Now, as always, I leave it for you to make a determination as to the veracity of this material. But if this is accurate, and there's a possibility it would be, after all, Harry's not only been in the sustained devaluation for some time, but he's been estranged from all of the things that he's grown up with, all of the things that he knew, well, many of the things that he enjoyed, and it's understandable that he would in effect have a degree of being homesick for them. Moreover, what's the replacement for these things been like? He hasn't really got any mates in the States, apart from Nacho Figueras. It's not home territory for him, and he's not exactly been inundated with visitors because people have basically thought, Harold, you've turned into a bit of a bellend since you've met her, so no, not going to come and visit you. Don't feel particularly welcome, and you've made your own bed, matey boy. You're going to have to lie in it yourself. Thus, Harry, understandably, may want to get his old life back because he enjoyed that old life, and the replacement has actually turned out to be pretty shitty. From Harry's wife's perspective, of course, the prospect of her husband saying, "See ya," and heading back to the United Kingdom is a massive threat to control. The article continues that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex stepped down as senior royals in 2020 and moved to California. However, it's been reported that Harry is keen to return to the United Kingdom, while Harry's wife wants to keep the United States as their main home. Commentator Mark Boardman said that Harry longs for his friends and would love a home in London after a tumultuous few years since leaving the royal fold. Harry's returned to the UK a handful of times since stepping down as a senior royal, including for King Charles's coronation in May. Prince Harry's social life has notably shifted over the past decade. Mark told the publication he appears to have distanced himself from his college friends and lacks a permanent UK residence. He continued, during his visits to London, he typically resides in hotels and avoids public appearances. Undoubtedly, Prince Harry longs for his old friendships. Harry's wife loves Harry. Well, she doesn't. She's a narcissist. She's incapable. But she wants to bring out the better side in him. And she's quite clear on the roles that they should take together, and they are trying to work better together on projects. People are eager to witness a transformed Harry, rather than a return to his previous partying lifestyle, which could lead to undesirable media attention. Mark added he would add that it would be hard to convince Harry's wife he needs a bit of a boys' weekend in London, meeting up with some old Eton buddies. Well, of course, she's never going to allow that to happen. Why? Well, first of all, the fact of him going over without her and catching up with his buddies wounds her because he's doing something without her. But there's a bigger problem to it. If he gets a taste for his old life, he may decide, I want to stay longer, I want to come back more often, and thus her control over him starts to weaken. You might think to yourself, well, does she really care? After all, he is in the sustained devaluation. But the point is, she doesn't yet have a replacement lined up. So it's a little bit like your washing machine isn't working at full tilt, and therefore you've ordered a replacement, but it's not going to arrive for 2 weeks. If you throw away your existing washing machine in the meantime, you don't have a washing machine, and therefore you'll sit around in smelly clothes. Accordingly, it's better for you to keep using the not as effective but at least still semi-working washing machine until the new one turns up. And it's the same as the dynamic between Harry and Harry's wife. He is seen as a malfunctioning appliance. This means that he is apt for being shipped out when one of the disengagement triggers is hit. It doesn't appear that he's causing problems in relation to control. He hasn't exposed her, he hasn't caused massive wounding, and he hasn't yet broken down. The most likely outcome is that she hooks up with someone else that provides her with a greater residual benefit of huge amounts of money, and therefore Harry becomes particularly surplus to requirements. Nevertheless, although he's being devalued, she's not going to let him go, because she can still control him. He still provides fuel. He still has some use, albeit much more limited than it once was, in relation to character traits. And there are still some residual benefits. They're just not as good as they once were. The article continued by explaining Harry's young at heart, but he's been kept in check by Harry's wife, and there's a reminder when he goes back of who he is and what he's supposed to be doing. He'd love a London base, and he'd love it to be on royal grounds, even if it was in Windsor or one of the apartments in Buckingham Palace. But that's not going to happen. London is where all of Harry's real friends are. Everyone they know in Hollywood, they aren't his friends. But ultimately, Harry's wife wants Harry to be by her side to support her, to look after the kids and to get his life back on track. And anything going backwards is going to take away from that. Well, that's what she believes. Of course, the real reason she wants him there is naturally linked to the prime aims. It wouldn't be a surprise if Harry wants his old life back. After all, things haven't turned out as he thought they would do in California. And it's particularly the case when an individual who's been isolated in the way that Harry has and being subjected to the same devaluation that Harry has, that he would be pining for things that are familiar to him. Might this prompt him to escape her? It's a possibility, but I still see it as unlikely. Her manipulative grip remains strong on him, as does his emotional fog, and I still remain of the view that when this relationship ends, and it will, it'll be because she's ended it, and not him. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.